So the other week in a video, we talked about the idea of a one-on-one. In my real life 9 to 5, or really it's like 7:30 to 5 job, uh, we do on occasion this one-on-one meeting between my manager and myself. And it is a process where we can sit down in a very safe, very comfortable environment and provide feedback both ways. So she can tell me, hey, you did great on this project, great job, you did good on this, but I think you need to work on this. And I can do the same for her. I can go, look, I really appreciate, the assistance and, whatever that the backup and all these things. But it really kind of pissed me off when you did this and you kind of stepped on my toes and, whatever the case might be. Now, one of the things that we also do as leaders in this meeting, as managers, is I don't want to say that we play a little game, but we have this process where we go, okay, if she's struck by lightning or I'm struck by lightning and hit by a meteor, dinosaurs eat us, whatever the case might be, and we are not able to take charge of the team. If we're, if we get, hit the lottery or we, whatever, and we're no longer coming to work, who would replace us? And we go over, okay, would, employee number 1 do it? Well, he's got these good qualities, but he has these bad qualities. Would employee 2? And we go down the list every once in a while and say, who would I feel comfortable replacing me if I got a promotion, if I moved jobs, if I took on a different role, etc. Who would we feel comfortable taking her spot? And we do this every once in a while. And I think it's really, it's very eye-opening. How prepared you are for someone to succeed you, and what you as a leader need to instill and work on in your employees or in your raiders or whatever the case might be. And I encourage you guys as leaders, in your guild, in your groups, whatever you're doing, do this. Sit down for a few minutes. And I've done this with my officers. I've done this just me thinking about it in game and going, okay, if I wasn't the guild leader, if I was going on vacation for an extended amount of time, or I had to take a break because something happened, who would take over for me as guild leader? Would it be one of my officers? If they did, or if I needed to promote another officer, who would it be? Would it be, the raider number 1 who has these qualities, and you go down the list and you kind of rank who you feel would truly fit specific roles. Now, here is the kicker. Here's the kicker. Sometimes the people that I think would be great as guild leaders would not be good as officers. Some of the people that I feel are really good, would be really good in an officer role, may not necessarily be good in a guild leadership role. They are slightly different roles. They do encompass a little bit different responsibilities, a different mindset, a different mentality, etc. And that's something that I think about, and I think you guys should think about, because and I'm not, don't read into this at all, but I'm not going to play World of Warcraft forever. I may stop tomorrow, probably not. I may stop, a couple of years from now, hopefully longer than that. But the fact is that, that I've been in this guild and I've been running this guild for a very long time. And I've mentioned to you guys the idea that, I've been in this guild 11 years, 12 years, something like that. And I haven't been running it the whole time, but, I've truly been committed to this guild. So I want to see when I go on to do other things, that it is taken care of, that my guild is taken care of by people that fit me, that would truly have the devotion and the passion to continue when times are hard, times are tight, and things really suck, and it would be way easier to just give in and give up. Now, the second thing I want to talk about here, as we're talking about kind of ranking and looking at your people, your raiders, your employees, whatever, and we've talked about this before, is the idea that as a leader, and I think this is often overlooked, especially when you're talking about something as silly as a video game and a guild and officers and guild leaders and whatnot, is it's your job isn't just to, as I've said, as a raid leader, or an officer or a guild leader, my role, my job is to make sure that we have the best team available to clear content and, remove hurdles. And that's what your job is as a leader, is essentially to remove hurdles so that the team can get shit done. But you have a second role, and we've talked about it. We've touched on it a little bit when we talked about leadership traits and principles, mostly traits, if I remember correctly. And it's the idea that you as a leader, not only are you supposed to remove hurdles and all that stuff, ensure that everything's running smoothly, you're also supposed to teach. In the Marine Corps, there is the idea that as a non-commissioned officer, when you pick up the rank of corporal, or you're a sergeant, and you continue along your career and your journey as a Marine, that it's not just, I'm an expert in taking this machine gun apart, or putting this satellite dish together, or, doing whatever, but I can also teach you as a young Marine how to do it. And the same thing applies for business leadership roles. If I am a team leader, a manager, or a supervisor, or shift manager, whatever the case might be, it's not that I know everything about, this one subject or this job role or whatever the case might be, but I can also show you and teach you successfully how to do it. That I employ, we talk about things like tact and knowledge and integrity and all these things where I can teach you. And I think that that's something that's really important, is as we play this game in real life, where I go, hey, look, to my boss, I go, hey, look, I think if I had to put them in order, if I had to rank them, this guy, this girl, this guy, that's how I would rank it, whatever. And from that, if we look at, like in guild, if I said, okay, here would be my top 3 picks for who would take over as a guild leader. Can we foster some responsibility in these guys? Can we give, maybe the first person on that list a little bit more responsibility, so that maybe it's not just, I think she would be a really good officer. Maybe it's, I think she'd be a really good officer. Let's let her set up, groups for, you look at a boss that you have to split up, ENR, for example, you have to split, or portal keeper, who's going up, who's staying down. Let her handle it. See how quickly, how decisive she is, how knowledgeable of the fight she is. We're evaluating her leadership traits, where we're looking at all those videos that I talked about, where we're going, does she know the fight? Does she know the classes? Does she know the capabilities? Does she know the people? Can she do it and not take 30 minutes to sit there and figure out who's going in what spot? Can she tactfully say, hey, here are the people that are going up, here are the people that are staying down, this is my decision? Can she stick to it? All these things. Can we foster a little bit of responsibility to kind of see where it leads? And I think this is important, because you may say, this guy is shit hot, as we would say in the Marine Corps. He's shit hot. He knows what he's doing. His DPS is always really high, and he's always online. He's always helpful, and he's knowledgeable, and he's really devoted to the guild and all these things. I want him to be an officer one day. I think that we're going to open up an officer spot, and I'm going to promote him next month. But first, I'm going to give him this role. He's going to make groups for the next few weeks. Well, if he stumbles, if he falls, if he's unwilling to do it, or he simply cannot do it, that's where you have the opportunity to teach and go, okay, here's how I do it. Here's the groups. Here's what I'm looking at when I make up the groups. And you have the ability to teach. And again, from that, you can go on to, did he pick it up? If I tell him that first week, for, let's say, Portal Keeper, who does, these would be the marks for me. Do we have a healer downstairs that can heal the tank and the DPS that are killing the little spiders and whatnot? If we do, the other healer goes up, whatever, who has a lot of AoE DPS that can kill the imps and the spiders and whatever, really quickly. that's really how, it boils down to, let me pick 2 or 3 people that will stay down that have a lot of AoE DPS. And if I share that with you, and then the next week you pick, single target, very poor AoEers, okay, you're clearly not getting it. It's gonna, there's this capacity to learn, and maybe you're not getting it, and we can step back and go, maybe they weren't really ready for that leadership position, or maybe they jump out and they go, look, I totally get it. I've been watching how you do it for, a couple of weeks now. Here are my choices, and they're completely right. And you can move on and go, yes, this is a guy or a girl that should be in a leadership position. But I would encourage you guys as leaders to do this, to play this game with your officers, to go, okay, if we had to promote somebody to the rank of officer, or, whatever you guys would call it in your guild, who would it be? And why? Why would you promote them? If you had to promote somebody to the rank of guild leader, whether it's one of your officers, play this with yourself. I would hesitate to say play with yourself with this, but take a look if you're a guild leader, or if you are not a guild leader, think about who should, if your guild leader left, got hit by a meteor, ate by a dinosaur, computer blew up and they couldn't run the guild anymore. Who do you think should take over? Do this every once in a while. Do this every 6 months, every new raid tier, and it's interesting to see how your choices and your mindset changes. Where you can completely rule out people, or totally think people are amazing, and then 6 months from now, they do something, or you see them do something, or you push them a little bit and they don't respond, or they do respond in a favorable way, and your mindset and your opinion of them as a leader kind of changes. And from there, you can truly shape people to be some halfway decent raid leaders and guild leaders and officers and whatnot. So I would encourage you guys to try it out. Now, with that being said, hopefully you guys like what I'm saying here. If you guys do, if you guys don't, you know the deal. Let me know, comment section down below. And until next time, guys, I'll see you.